You feel it happening. You're getting momentum, waking up earlier, lifting heavier, saying no faster. And then someone close to you starts doing it. The little jokes, the just being real comments, the helpful suggestions you didn't ask for, the check-ins that sound like care but land like a leash. Imagine you tell them a win and their smile arrives a second late. Imagine they steer the conversation to risks, to balance, to why you shouldn't get obsessed. Nothing overt, nothing you can accuse, just polite friction. The average man ignores it because he craves harmony. The disciplined man notices patterns because he values progress more than comfort. Because every time you miss the signal, you don't just lose a day, you donate weeks. You hand over your edge so someone else can feel safe around you. And the first sign never looks like sabotage. The first sign looks like support. That's the part that messes with your head. Nothing is openly hostile. It's all concern. So you replay conversations like surveillance footage, trying to find the frame where it turned. You start winning, you start shrinking, you start doubting. You win in private new habits, sharper focus, quieter confidence. Then you show up around them and suddenly you soften your voice. You explain yourself. You downplay the goal. You make jokes about your own discipline so nobody feels threatened. And later, alone, you wonder why your fire feels smaller than it did this morning. You can't prove anything, and that's the point. If you call it out, you sound crazy. The average man hears your instinct and labels it paranoia, insecurity, ego. He'd rather be liked than be accurate. He chooses comfort over clarity. But the disciplined man treats discomfort like a signal. He doesn't need a courtroom confession. He reads repetition. He watches what happens to his energy after certain conversations. He notices who celebrates his progress and who only relaxes when he hesitates. Here's the brutal line. Most sabotage isn't a punch. It's a hand on your shoulder guiding you back into the crowd. You've been the background character so long that when you step forward, people who depended on your smallness feel robbed. They won't admit it. They'll just adjust the room until you fit their story again, quietly. And the real trap isn't hate, it's comparison, because the moment you rise, you become a mirror. You're not crazy, you're just finally noticing how status works. Leon Festinger's social comparison theory says people feel a pull to evaluate themselves. And when they can't measure life objectively, they measure it against other people. That means your discipline isn't just your discipline. To the wrong person, it's a scoreboard they never agreed to play on. Imagine you walk into a room calmer, leaner, more focused. You don't brag, you don't preach, you simply exist as evidence. And evidence is brutal. It forces a choice. Rise to your level or pull you down to theirs. The average man believes sabotage needs a villain, so he misses it when it arrives wearing friendliness. The powerful man assumes motive before words. He asks one cold question: does my progress make them better or make them smaller? Here's the forbidden truth. Most people don't want you to fail because they hate you. They want you to fail because your growth makes their excuses louder. Your rise threatens their identity, so they try to level the field. And they don't use one weapon, they use 5 each quiet, each polite, each timed to hit, right before you break through. The first weapon comes next. Machiavelli is not your moral teacher. He is your weather report. He studies what people do when their image is threatened and their comfort is at risk. In The Prince, he warns rulers to abstain from taking people's property, for men will sooner forget the death of their fathers than the loss of their patrimony. He's pointing at a dirty law. Perceived loss makes people irrational. Your progress can feel like loss to someone who lives on comparisons. You get stronger and they feel weaker. You get disciplined and their excuses start bleeding. The average man tries to talk it out, to win them over, to prove he's still safe. The disciplined man watches incentives. He knows nobody argues with a mirror, they try to crack it. When you trigger that fear, they play quietly. So don't ask, who hates me? Ask the sharper question, who feels smaller when you win? That question changes everything, because the first person who wants you to stay small rarely pushes you down. He just offers to carry you. Number 1, support that steers you off cliff. It starts right when you commit. You tell someone you're cutting alcohol, waking at 5, building a business, getting lean. They nod, then immediately reach for a leash disguised as realism. Just don't burn out. Be careful. You should take it slow. Maybe wait until things calm down. Polite words, heavy effect. Imagine you say, I'm training 6 days a week, and they answer, that's extreme. Imagine you say, I'm locking in on my career, and they answer, don't get obsessed, you'll miss life. Notice the pattern. Your goal becomes a problem to manage, not a mission to execute. The average man mistakes volume for wisdom. Whoever speaks with confidence becomes his compass. He feels relieved when someone gives him a softer route, because the softer route lets him keep belonging. He calls it balance. He calls it being mature, but it's usually permission to retreat. The disciplined man does something colder. He asks, what outcome does this advice produce? And who benefits if I follow it? If the suggestion makes you slower, smaller, more dependent, more explainable, it is not guidance. It is containment. Here's how soft control works. They encourage you to be realistic, then they define realistic as whatever keeps you predictable. They offer to help, then their help requires access. Your plans, your schedule, your weaknesses, your next move. They volunteer to hold you accountable, then they become the judge who decides whether you're allowed to push. Suddenly you aren't building a life, you're requesting permission. In the spirit of Machiavelli, remember this. People defend what they think they're losing. When your growth changes the hierarchy, some will stabilize the system by stabilizing you. Not with hate, with a hug. Imagine they text you the night before your early workout. You've been grinding, come out for one drink. If you refuse, they laugh, call you intense, say you're changing. If you accept, they call it being normal. Either way, your discipline loses and they win a little comfort. Or you tell them you're starting a side hustle. They don't say no. They send you 20 links, 10 podcasts, a new system, a spreadsheet, a course you need before you begin. Weeks pass in preparation. Nothing ships. They feel helpful, you feel busy, and your life stays the same. That's the trap. False support trades action for discussion. It replaces your battlefield with a conference room. They'll ask for updates not to cheer, but to audit. When you say you're ahead, they change the subject. When you admit a setback, they light up and call it a sign. Pay attention to what makes them relax. Your setbacks give them oxygen. Your momentum makes them restless in silence too. So test the advice. When someone says slow down, watch whether they also offer a concrete trade. Babysit your time, cover a shift, introduce you to a client, train with you at 5 a.m. Real support costs them something. Soft control only costs you. The powerful man collects counsel like weapons, but he refuses to let anyone hold the sheath. So you build a filter, never accept vague caution from someone who has never built what you're building. Demand specifics. If they say, be careful, ask yourself, careful of what exactly? If they can't name a real risk and a real countermeasure, they're not protecting you, they're pacifying you. And you move differently. You stop announcing your campaigns to civilians. You share results, not blueprints. You nod, you thank them, you let them feel heard. Then you execute in silence. Quiet men are hard to steer. Your new rule is simple. If their advice makes you smaller, it's not wisdom, it's control. Screenshot that line. Burn it into your spine. Because the moment you accept their help, you start walking on their pace, their standards, their comfort. That's how months disappear. That's how you wake up one day and realize you traded your edge for approval. Most men will never see this weapon because it doesn't look like a weapon. It looks like a friend saving you from yourself. Drop "I move in silence" in the comments. If you'd rather be called intense than be kept average. Because when steering you fails, they start poisoning your confidence with a smile. Your silence triggers a new tactic. If they can't steer your schedule, they try to steer your identity. They clap, but the clap has teeth. Number 2, compliments that contain poison. This is sabotage dressed as kindness. They support you, but only the version of you that stays harmless. The moment you sharpen, the praise changes shape. It becomes conditional. It becomes a cage painted gold. Imagine you tell them you hit a new PR. "Congrats, man," they say, and then half a laugh. "Must be nice to have that kind of time." Imagine you land a client or pass an exam. "Good for you," they say, "just don't get too full of yourself." Imagine you start dressing better, speaking cleaner, cutting the sloppy habits. "Look at you," they say, smiling, "don't change on us." It lands soft, but it cuts deep because it makes your evolution sound like betrayal. This is how they shrink you without ever touching you. They praise you in a way that pulls you back toward the old role. The funny guy, the chill guy, the guy who never makes anyone else confront themselves. They don't say, "Stop growing." They say, "I liked you better before," with a grin so you feel guilty for wanting more. The weak man chases that grin like oxygen. He edits himself to keep the room comfortable. He trades precision for popularity. He becomes easier to digest. And every time he shrinks to fit their nostalgia, he calls it humility. The disciplined man treats praise like data. He asks, what behavior are they rewarding and what behavior are they punishing? Because praise is training. It is a dog treat for the version of you they can control. If they praise your softness and flinch at your ambition, they are not celebrating you. They are shaping you. Watch for three tells. First, the timing. The sting arrives right after a win when you're most open. Second, the spotlight. They compliment you in front of others, so you can't respond honestly without looking defensive. Third, the hook. There's always a suggestion attached. Slow down, stay humble, don't get obsessed, don't think you're better. Picture a dinner table. You mention you're waking at 5. Someone laughs. He's on his grind set now. Everyone smiles. You smile too, but you feel the message. Come back down here with us. Picture a coworker saying, "You're really ambitious," but their tone makes ambition sound like a character flaw. That's not a compliment. That's a warning. This works because it hijacks your self-image. You start performing the acceptable you instead of building the real you. You start asking, will they still like me if I get ruthless with my discipline? Will I look arrogant if I stop explaining? Will I lose friends if I outgrow the group? And while you negotiate your identity, your momentum bleeds out. There's a reason this tactic shows up with a smile. Open hostility makes you defensive. Poisoned praise makes you complicit. You thank them for shrinking you. You call it feedback. You call it love. Your counter is simple, but not easy. You separate warmth from access. You let people feel however they feel, but you don't let their feelings edit your mission. If a compliment comes with a warning, you treat it like smoke. You don't inhale it. You note it and move. Keep a private ledger. Who gets energized when you level up? Who gets playful when you stumble? Over time, the pattern becomes undeniable and you stop debating it. That's when approval stops being currency and becomes noise in the distance, like traffic outside a fortress wall at night, alone. So you install a rule. You don't take identity advice from spectators. You don't confess your next move to people who only clap for your limits. When the backhand comes, you don't argue. You don't over-explain. You give them nothing to grab. You say, appreciate it, period. You change the subject. You keep building. Here's your line. Some applause is a leash. And when you feel that leash tighten, you do one thing. You keep evolving anyway, not louder, not more dramatic, just more inevitable. Because nothing breaks a manipulator faster than a man who refuses to be trained. Drop no leash in the comments if you're done being rewarded for weakness, because the next sign appears right when you're about to break through. And it makes sure nothing is ever enough. They couldn't steer you, and they couldn't leash you. So they change the rules. They keep you working, but they make sure you never arrive. Number 3, the moving goalpost. The principle is brutal. They trap you in a permanent try-hard state. Nothing is ever real progress, so you never get the psychological reward of completion. And when a man never feels finished, he eventually stops starting. Watch how it shows up. You share a milestone and it gets minimized. You hit a month sober and they say, okay, but can you do a year? You get in shape and they say, yeah, but you're not huge. You make more money and they say, cool, but so-and-so makes double. Your win becomes a warm-up lap for a race you never agreed to run. Imagine you climb a hill in the rain, hands bleeding, lungs on fire. You reach the top, and instead of a view, someone hands you a new map and says, the real summit is over there. No celebration, no respect, just a quiet implication that you're still behind. The average man negotiates with critics. He starts presenting evidence like a lawyer. He lists his sacrifices. He argues for permission to feel proud. He tries to earn a moment of validation from people who are invested in his restlessness. And the more he argues, the more they control the scoreboard, because they become the judges of his reality. The disciplined man refuses the courtroom. He uses internal standards. He tracks his own metrics. He ships anyway. He understands that someone who needs you uncertain will always find a new way to measure you. So he stops handing them the ruler. This is where social comparison turns poisonous. When your progress becomes the reference point, the insecure person feels pressure. They don't want to rise, and they don't want to admit they won't. So they solve the discomfort by making your progress not that impressive. Not because it's true, but because it's soothing. And it works on you if you let it, because the moving goalpost hits your nervous system, not your logic. You start feeling behind even when you're ahead. You start adding more and more rules to deserve your own pride. You start chasing intensity instead of consistency. That's how motivation collapses. Not from laziness, but from never getting to breathe. So you need a counterstrike. First, stop reporting your milestones to people who grade them. If someone always responds with "but," they are not in your corner, they are in your head. Second, define your finish lines before you start. Write them down. A month sober is a win. 10 workouts is a win. 1 published project is a win. You can set new goals tomorrow, but you don't rewrite yesterday's victory to make today's insecurity feel productive. Third, learn to celebrate privately, not with arrogance, with confirmation. You look at the numbers, the habits, the receipts, and you nod. You don't need an audience to certify your growth. Here's the screenshot line. If the finish line moves, stop running their race. Say it out loud when the comparison hits. Then do a simple drill. Pick 3 numbers you control: hours worked, sessions trained, pages written, and treat them like your sword strokes. You don't argue about sword strokes. You do them. Imagine a commander watching recruits. He doesn't care who talks the loudest. He counts the repetitions. That's you. You stop asking, "Is it enough?" and start asking, "Did I execute?" When they minimize you, you don't speed up to impress them. You tighten form. You add 1 rep, 1 call, 1 hour. Quiet, daily, irreversible. And when you win, you don't announce it to the same mouths that move the goalpost. You reward yourself with a new level of standard, then you go back to work. Your pride comes from keeping promises to yourself. Their applause becomes optional. Their criticism becomes fuel you don't even need anymore now. No debate, no permission, just results stacking up. Because once you stop racing their standards, something changes. Their comments lose power. Their comparisons bounce off. And the most revealing thing happens. They get impatient. They can't shrink you with never enough, so they reach for a darker lever. They stop trying to edit your goals, and they start editing what other people believe about you. Drop "my standard" in the comments if you're done begging for a finish line. Right when you stop running their race, they change arenas. They stop attacking your effort and start attacking your image, because effort is hard to sabotage from the outside. Reputation is easy. Number 4, reputation warfare. This is where the "I'm just being honest" voice becomes "I'm just worried about him." They don't criticize your work to your face. They plant a version of you in other people's minds. A rumor doesn't have to be dramatic to be lethal. It only has to create doubt at the exact moment an opportunity is forming. Imagine you're finally consistent. You're showing up early, leaving late, building muscle, building money, building discipline. Then behind your back, someone says softly, "He's been acting different lately. I hope he's okay." Another person hears it and adds their own guess. Suddenly, your focus gets translated as instability. Your boundaries get translated as arrogance. Your silence gets translated as guilt. The average man responds like a wounded animal. He overshares. He sends paragraphs. He tries to clear his name by explaining his heart. He storms into rooms demanding to know who said what. He thinks louder equals stronger. All it does is confirm the narrative that he's emotional and reactive. The disciplined man understands a colder truth. You don't win a rumor war by chasing every arrow. You win by becoming boring to shoot at. You protect the narrative the same way you protect your money, by controlling access and keeping receipts. In psychology, there's a concept called social undermining, behavior meant to hinder someone's success, reputation, or relationships over time. That's what this is, not an explosion, erosion. One concerned comment at a time until people hesitate to associate with you, invest in you, promote you, or trust you. And the timing is never random. It spikes when you're about to level up, because if they can't stop your output, they try to starve your opportunities. So you move like a strategist. First, you stop giving unstable people raw material. Don't vent your plans to someone who collects stories. Don't confess your doubts to someone who sells them as context. Share your process with proven allies, not with spectators who need drama to feel important. Second, you document patterns, not to obsess, to stay sane. Dates, quotes you remember, screenshots when it's appropriate. When the same concern follows you from room to room, you don't gaslight yourself. You recognize the campaign. Third, you build a calm public consistency. You don't posture. You don't perform innocence. You simply keep showing up with the same tone, the same respect, the same results. Over time, consistency is a lie detector. People may hear rumors, but they experience you. Experience beats gossip. Also notice who plays messenger. The weak man gets pulled into side chats and triangulation. He answers every, "Did you hear what they said?" and ends up repeating the rumor himself. The disciplined man refuses the game. He says, "I don't do secondhand stories. If there's a problem, bring it to me." Then he goes back to work. Imagine you walk into a room where eyes linger a beat too long. You feel the temperature. You don't rush to melt it. You stay steady, ask a direct question, deliver value, and leave. That steadiness becomes your counter-rumor, and you build social proof the right way. Consistent results, respectful boundaries, and a few strong relationships with people who have nothing to gain from drama. When your name is currency, you spend it carefully. No theatrics, no begging, ever. Here's the line you tattoo on your thinking. They can't beat your discipline, so they try to bankrupt your reputation. And if you must address it, you do it once, clean and controlled. You state boundaries. You speak facts. You refuse to name call. You don't plead. The moment you beg, you hand them the role of judge again. Imagine a commander hearing a whisper campaign in the ranks. He doesn't panic, he tightens formation. He assigns roles based on performance. He removes the saboteur's access to sensitive information. He keeps marching. That's you. Your life is the march. Your circle is the formation. Your silence is not weakness. It is armor. Because the last sign is even more intimate. When they can't steer you, leash you, exhaust you, or smear you, they reach for the one thing you still value, your empathy, and it feels like love. Drop untouchable in the comments. Reputation warfare is noisy, but guilt is quiet. It walks in wearing loyalty, history, inside jokes, the years you survived together. And because you still have a heart, it lands. Number 5, the guilt trap. This is the most personal sign because it uses your empathy against you. They frame your ambition as abandonment. They turn your discipline into a crime scene. And if you are not careful, you start sabotaging yourself just to prove you are still one of us. Imagine you set a boundary. You stop answering calls late at night. You skip the bar on a weekday. You leave the group chat on red because you are building. Suddenly, they get fragile. So you are too good for us now? You never have time anymore. You changed, man. It is said with a laugh, but the message is serious. Your growth is disloyalty. The average man panics at that accusation. He chooses comfort tribe approval over the mission. He shows up when he should be sleeping. He spends money to keep the peace. He explains his goals like he is asking permission. And when he succeeds, he apologizes for it. That is how he stays loved. That is also how he stays stuck. The disciplined man does the opposite. He chooses the mission and lets feelings settle later. He accepts that some people will interpret his boundaries as rejection because rejection is the only language they respect. He does not argue with the guilt. He watches it like weather, then keeps moving. Here's the trick. Guilt always asks for a sacrifice, but it never offers a future. It demands you prove loyalty right now, with your time, your attention, your energy, your momentum. It never asks what loyalty will cost you in 6 months. It never asks what your life becomes if you keep shrinking to keep them comfortable. So you install a test. When they say, "You are leaving us," you ask silently, "Where are you going?" Are they building anything worth following? Are they improving with you? Or are they simply guarding the old version of you because it makes them feel stable? Imagine you tell them you are skipping a weekend trip to work. They act wounded. They say they miss you. Then they add the hook. "We just want you to be happy." But your work is your happiness. Your discipline is your peace. The guilt is not about your well-being. It is about their access. Sometimes they use debt. They remind you of rides they gave you, nights they listened, favors you never asked for. They cash it in the moment you try to leave the old life behind. Imagine you miss one hangout to train, and the next day you get the silence. No jokes, no warmth, just a pause that says, "Pay the price." The weak man pays. He overcompensates. He buys gifts, over-explains, cancels his own plans to restore the old rhythm. The disciplined man recognizes emotional invoices. He repays real debts with real action once, then closes the account. He refuses endless payments. He chooses a boundary that is calm. "I care about you. I'm still doing this." Then he disappears back into the work. No anger, no debate, just direction, and your spine steadies. This is also why they get disappointed when you are doing well. They prefer you struggling because struggling keeps you reachable. When you are leveling up, you become harder to manipulate. So they pull you back with emotions instead of arguments. You do not need to become cruel. You need to become clear. You say less. You commit more. You stop negotiating your future with people who benefit from your past. You can love someone and still refuse their leash. You can respect someone and still outgrow their expectations. Your line is simple and unforgiving. If they need you small to feel safe, they're not your people. Say it, then act like it. No speeches, no dramatic exits, just controlled distance, fewer explanations, fewer openings, more quiet execution. Because the moment you stop paying guilt taxes, something terrifying happens for them. They lose the power to summon you with a mood, and that is when you finally see the difference between real love and emotional ownership. Hold that thought. In the next phase, you learn the stoic way to win without becoming the same kind of snake. Drop mission first in the comments. You feel the guilt tax fading and something clicks. You don't need to explain yourself into acceptance. You need to move like a strategist. You stop auditioning for approval and start building a life that doesn't ask permission ever. The average man reacts on their schedule. He answers the bait text. He defends himself to people who already chose their story. He swings at shadows, then wonders why he's tired. You don't do that anymore. You go quiet, measured, unavailable to manipulation. You let your actions speak in a language sabotage can't translate. Imagine a week where you stop giving advance notice. You train, work, and recover on time. You share results only after they're real. The people who wanted you small get confused, because confusion is what happens when the leash has nothing to hook into. And your circle starts changing, not with a dramatic breakup, with gravity. You spend less time around passive comparison and more time around builders. Your pace stabilizes because you stop sprinting to prove yourself and stop crawling to comfort others. You become consistent, dangerous in the quiet way. Marcus Aurelius seals the mindset with a line that hits like steel. The best kind of revenge is not to become like unto them. You don't counter-sabotage. You don't gossip back. You don't beg for fairness. You simply outlast. Here's the shift. Power isn't loud dominance. Power is emotional non-reactivity. Power is choosing your timeline, not negotiating it. Power is letting them talk while you build. Your confidence becomes non-negotiable because it's no longer borrowed from applause. It's minted from promises kept, day after day. So when the old tactics return, false help, poisoned praise, moving goalposts, whisper campaigns, guilt, you don't panic. You smile because you can see the play before it's run. You're not paranoid, you're promoted. You don't need to confront everyone. You don't need to clear your name. You don't need to win debates with people who benefit from your doubt. You need one thing: disciplined silence and forward motion. Most men will hear this and do nothing. They'll keep announcing goals to the wrong mouths, keep paying guilt taxes, keep mistaking politeness for loyalty. The average man stays in the village because he's terrified of being misunderstood. The disciplined man accepts the price of elevation. Fewer seats at the table, more space to breathe. So here's the challenge. For the next 7 days, stop explaining, stop oversharing, stop asking for permission to grow. Track the patterns, guard your plans, and let results speak in a voice nobody can imitate. If you're committing, drop mission first in the comments. Not for me, for you. A public oath turns hesitation into heat, and the right men will recognize you in the replies. And if you want more of this real frameworks, not motivation sugar, subscribe. Turn on the bell. Because the algorithm will feed you noise, and you need reminders that your discipline is a weapon, not a phase.